Turning now to the coronavirus pandemic, the Fulton County School District is shutting down in-person learning today at Centennial High School. According to its closing matrix, they are in a level 1 criteria, which means 1 to 2 students or staff have tested positive for COVID-19. And the school will be cleaned today in hopes of allowing students to return to class on Tuesday. North Springs High School is also closed today and tomorrow because of at least 3 cases among its faculty or staff, and classes are expected to resume on Wednesday. Now let's take a look at Georgia's overall coronavirus numbers. Over 373,000 Georgians have now contracted the virus. The average daily number of new cases over the last 2 weeks is nearly 1,600. Over 8,000 in Georgia have died from the virus, and yesterday our state only reported 1 death. A new milestone for the U.S., the national number of coronavirus cases surpassing 10 million. Sunday marking the 5th worst day since the pandemic began, with more than 100,000 new cases reported on Sunday. 451 deaths were also reported. Liza Lucas joins us now from the newsroom. And Liza, as winter approaches, the rising number of cases is worrying a lot of people, especially since the holidays are coming and many people are going to be getting together with their family and friends.
That is indeed the case, and this is definitely on experts' radar, who believe there are several factors at play which could potentially set the stage for a dark winter ahead. For instance, coronavirus fatigue, as well as the holidays, which traditionally bring a lot of time indoors with family and friends. Now, 43 states are reporting rising cases. Experts say family gatherings can be especially risky, with research showing the virus can spread through the entire household with ease. Now, also troubling is that the U.S. is entering flu season, which could potentially lead to what experts have called a twindemic, surging cases of both COVID-19 and the flu, which could potentially overwhelm hospitals. Now, public health experts urge people to get a flu shot if they haven't already. And meanwhile, we've been watching the Twitter feeds of some of those experts, including our U.S. Surgeon General, who warns that daily hospitalizations could go up this week. We could be watching for an uptick, he says, as the cases are rapidly rising, with 50% of all states in red or orange zones, which is why he and other experts say it's time to double down on the mask wearing, the physical distancing, and the hand washing. And a lot of you on our insider page have been weighing in this morning about how your holiday, your Thanksgiving plans are shifting. Ricardo right now says it's just having dinner with just immediate family. Trinell also just a few minutes ago saying she's just going to be celebrating at home with her household. So continue to weigh in this morning. Head over to Facebook where we're talking about this on our insider page, or use that hashtag MorningRushATL.
And just to be clear here, our case numbers are rising in Georgia. Our 14-day average is about 330 more compared to the previous 2 weeks. Our numbers team is closely tracking the latest coronavirus numbers every day and the trends here in our area. Just head on over to 11alive.com and select the special coronavirus section to see the daily update.